Hi, you are watching Side Simplers and this is Romesh Srivastava. Please do subscribe the channel for the HR news, for HR updates and conversation that organize HROs. Today we are going to discuss about the Haryana's new liquor policy for the workplaces. Recently, the government of Haryana has released a notification as its excise policy for year 2023 and 2024. According to this notification, the Haryana government allows the corporate offices to serve the low alcoholic drinks like beer and wine at the workplaces. The organizations, those who are interested for this, they must meet certain conditions as well. The condition number first is that these organizations need to apply for the license, that is L10F license. Another condition is that these organizations must have minimum 5,000 employees in the organization. One more condition is that these organizations must have the covered area minimum 1 lakh square foot in a single premises. One more condition is that these organizations must have the canteen area of minimum 2,000 square feet. There is also one annual fees for this license, that is a 10 lakh per year. And apart from this license fee, annual license fee, there is also one security deposit, that is 3 lakh. So these are the conditions under which any organization can serve the liquor at the workplace, low alcoholic liquor at the workplace. To discuss in detail what would be the impact of this new policy at the workplaces, how our labor laws, how the Factories Act, how the code of conduct may be the barrier for this policy. So we will discuss, and today we have two senior panelists. Let me introduce Mr. Kalol Dutt. He is a former additional labor commissioner of West Bengal, and Ms. Harni Srinivasan. She is a partner at Simco Light Institute India, and she is a former CHRO of World India. So, Mr. Kalol, how do you look this policy and what do you see that what will be the impact on the workplaces? Because as per the standing order, the consumption of alcohol at the workplace on duty, that is, I think, that is misconduct.
Basically, standing order is applicable to the workmen only, and here in the notification the word employees has been used. So there is a difference between employees and workmen first, and secondly, as per the standing order, it says that drunkenness and intoxication. They in the model standing order, it has not specifically mentioned that you cannot consume alcohol in the work premises. What is a misconduct? It is basically intoxication and drunkenness. So the impact or consequence of drinking alcohol is addressed in the standing order. So statutory provision is a bit vague. Again, I think it depends on the company policy. There are other implications apart from the Standing Orders Act, is about the liability. If some accident happens, even if after consuming alcohol, the employees, while coming back home, maybe he is driving and an accident happens, who will be liable? So maybe a new area of jurisprudence may open up while fixing the liability on the organization. Who is sponsoring it? It is not exactly sponsoring, still facilitating consumption of alcohol at the workplace. It will open up many new areas so far, I think, I understand.
But according to the code of conduct, it is also a misconduct to have the alcohol, have the consumption of liquor at the workplace, and that applies for the employees, not for the workmen. So how do you look into this?
Yeah, but again, code of conduct is not something mandatory. It is not. It is voluntary, and every company has their own policies. In their own policy, which is applicable to the employees, they may prohibit consumption of alcohol. And then again, providing provision for license at the workplace does not mean that you have to take license. It is not mandatory. I don't think most of the organizations will not take license or take advantage of these provisions. But again, the background of this notification is not available, at least in the internet. There must be some background. Maybe a portion of the corporate sector wanted this facility in their work. There must be some reason for notifying this provision. That is not clear. Gradually, it may come out, the reason behind this decision. I think maybe work from home, it may be a consequence of work from home. Because while working from home, people may drink. Whether working from it is a workplace or not, it's a debatable issue. Again, the jurisprudence of the interpretation is not clear at the present moment. So after opening up, maybe it may be just a possibility that people prefer to drink. Again, it is not hard liquor. The license said about wine and beer, basically, low alcoholic drinks, which may not cause that drunkenness or intoxication. And it helps in bonding also. I was going through some studies. It's good for team building, maybe it's for celebration. It may be good to have a glass of beer. We are habituated in West Bengal, especially. I'm coming from West Bengal. So in West Bengal, we have tea. If you see in foreign countries, especially America, they will have coffee maybe. So in other region, they may prefer beer. I think it will open up many possibilities and many consequences. It will be an emerging issue. But again, the possibility of having a license and providing beer or wine in the eatery does not mean you have to offer it. You have to take answer. It is not mandatory. If the organization feels that they want to offer this facility to their employees, they may go for it.
And Harnik, how do you see the impact of this new policy, the consumption of liquor at the workplace?
So, even before I get to answering this question, I think I was quite amused when I first saw this notification. Definitely, I was amused because, like Kallol said, what triggered it is still not known, right? So that's continues to remain a question in our minds, and it's amusing. And what he just now mentioned is, did work from home trigger it? And as he was speaking, I was smiling to myself because, he did, Kallol, you did point out that people might be drinking at home when they work from home. But when you mentioned that, immediately I felt, is it a way to get the people back to the office? Is this an incentive to come back to the office and not work from home? That was an amusing thought that came in my mind. So definitely I had to mention that because this is kind of related to the question you asked, Romesh ji. It is about, what impact it can cause. Now we'll have to wait and watch because this is in one state and we don't know what impact it's really going to cause there. But definitely the impact it has caused is it has become a material for conversation by a lot of HR folks. A lot of people are talking about it. So that's definitely one impact it has caused. The other impacts, which I don't know, maybe that is what it is expected to cause, is give people a more relaxed work environment. Well, let me put a disclaimer here. I am not an advocate of serving alcohol at the workplace. Not at all. I don't drink, so I don't know whether it's good or bad. But what I'm trying to make is probably one impact is that people will feel a lot more relaxed at the workplace. Maybe another impact, slightly on, it may sound a little funny, but maybe another impact is, it's maybe organizations are slowly coming of age. Instead of, just look at it, no? Instead of celebrating birthdays by cutting a cake and singing a happy birthday song, we are suddenly saying that it's okay to offer a drink, right? So maybe it's one way to look at it in a positive manner is, are we beginning to treat employees as adults? I'm deliberately painting a positive picture here, just to, make us think that what could be the reasons. So these are things which I see as possibilities in the work environment in terms of how people perceive each other in the work environment. They start looking at each other as adults, and they feel that a social having a drink over a conversation, if it helps you relax, it's okay. These things kind of may make the work atmosphere a lot more relaxed and not very rigid. um, Now another impact it could cause is if people have to make let's say have a sales conversation over a drink. In the current scheme of things, you have to take your client or your customer out for a drink. Now, if that is possible within the workplace, maybe it has another positive impact. I mean, I'm just trying to pull out what could be the positive impacts. Yeah, but as rightly said, as Kallol pointed out, definitely the standing orders talks about drunkenness and intoxication. So till we don't get to that point, it might still be okay. As cultures are opening up, as we start looking at globalization of a culture, then maybe it's okay. So probably, these are the kind of impacts that I can think of right away. But this is one thing which is still, it is still sinking in. And I've also been trying to do all research to find out what really triggered this, because this has been unprecedented. So it's still sinking in, but the optimist that I am, I will try and see what could be the positive impacts.
If we dig a little more deeper, then how do you see the impact on productivity part? How do you see the impact on efficiency part and also the culture of the organization?
Actually, this is an interesting question. So here is where my fundamental belief that people will not compromise on productivity, provided they know what is the outcome that they have to achieve. I'm a big believer of the fact that, when people are told what is the end result, what is the business outcome we want to achieve, and how do you connect the dots of your working to the business outcome, then people will definitely work towards it. They're adults, right? Then we don't even need the attendance monitoring system. We don't need performance management systems. We don't need to mark absenteeism. We don't need a leave policy. We need nothing. If people are mature adults, they know that this has to be the outcome that has to be achieved. They have the visibility of that goal. They have all necessary information to achieve that goal. They have clarity about how their roles are interdependent, and they have psychological safety in their workplace. They are able to bring their entire selves to work. The goal will be achieved. Now, the problem is whether our HR systems and processes really trust people and their ability or not. That's the fundamental question we have to ask ourselves. Putting restrictions on people, does it improve productivity? If we think deeply, no, it doesn't. If you're treating people like children, at this time you have to clock so many hours of work at your desk. Does it really improve productivity? To be honest to ourselves, I don't think so. I've been there. I've noticed that people can just come, punch in, punch out, spend so many hours and still not be productive enough. What really improves productivity is, are we trusting our people and their capability? So if that fundamental of trust and transparency and treating adults as adults is the culture, then I think none of this will really impact. Yeah, but my thoughts may be a little utopian, maybe a little revolutionary, but we have seen organizations that have really grown on the basis of trust. So it's not something which is not achievable. It's definitely realistic.
And Karun, what are the other statutory provisions if we talk about the Factories Act? So I think there are also certain provisions which may not be in favor of this policy. How do you look into this?
Notification does not talk about Factories Act because it specifically said office, corporate office. They use the word corporate office. So it is not applicable in the factories. Again, as she said, it depends on the nature of work. You talked about productivity. It depends on the nature of work. If I'm operating a machine or a surgeon is operating, then having beer before that operation will not help. It may increase efficiency, but it will also increase the possibility of accident also. So, but when you are doing something cognitive work, I'm not sure whether there are any studies regarding this, or you are doing some creative work, it may actually help. In at least government sector, I can tell that whenever we have to apply our mind, we have to concentrate for long hours for a job, we bring that file in our home. because it is not possible to do that in office. And again, I am a supporter, not a supporter of that control structure. People are adult, they know the expected outcome, expected behavior out of them. So let them function as fully as possible. And the effect of alcohol, again, I am not referring to any scientific studies. It differs from people to people. Many people say that it's a great stress reliever. Many creative people are dependent, almost dependent on the alcohol for their creativity. So it has pros and cons. I was going through some studies. So it says that this low alcoholic content drink, beer and wine, are good for bonding, social bonding, team building. The negative side is that people become uninhibited after having even beer. So it unleashes the creativity on the one hand, but again, the possibility of sexual harassment also increases. In a group setting, if you allow alcohol, possibility of sexual harassment also increases. Because people feel free, they become more risk-taking behavior increases. We have a psychologist with us, so she may be able to throw light on these aspects of behavior. But again, this is not applicable to factories or industries. Here it is confined to corporate offices. And as you already said, big corporate offices, because 1 lakh square feet should be the area of that office. And the area of the eatery or canteen should be around, I think, 2,000 square feet. Minimum 5,000 employees should be employed there. So it is only applicable for big corporate offices, where they are engaged mostly in cognitive work,
But I think
or maybe
there,
interpersonal work.
but I think there must
Yeah.
be some clarification, because many plants are there where you can see the factory and corporate offices both are together. And as far the 1 lakh square feet area is concerned, so only for the corporate office, I don't think so. That may also include the factory premises as well. So here a clarification, I think that would be needed, which is not clear as of now. What do you think on this?
Yeah, if it is adjacent, you are talking about when the corporate offices and factory is close by, or
Many plants are
in
there
the same
where the corporate,
premises.
in the same premises there.
In the same premises, then that legal questions will come, because if a workman gets drunk, then it becomes the responsibility of the employer. If any accident happens, it becomes the employees of responsibility of the employer. So maybe the organization who will be applying for license, they have to frame a legal policy as well for their own organization. It is not only government's legal policy, they have to inculcate it in their culture as well as in HR policy, that how much consumption will be allowed, who will be allowed, who will not be allowed to have that consume alcohol. These finer things will come out. But again, as my co-panelist also said, that it is an emerging area and new issues will come out. After it gets implemented, at least some of the organization starts providing alcohol in their premises, then interesting things will come out. And any new I am also supporter of new experiments. New perspective may come. Whether actually productivity will increase or not, only after implementing this thing we will be able to know. So it's an interesting, I can say, experiment. Any new thing is experiment. Let's see how it unfolds.
Yeah, Hardy, Kalul has raised a very important point. It is the people safety and some sexual harassment, these kind of the points. So what do you think on this?
So it's like this. So my thought goes back to this one thing, that just because it is now permitted, it does not become mandatory by any organization to implement it. Right? So that's one thing. Now, how does an organization make that conscious decision of, do we allow it in our company or not? Now, that is left to, like Kalol pointed out, that is left to that organization to really look at where they are situated, what could be the outcomes, what could be the consequences, how it might be taken by their people. A lot of these things are left to the decision of the organization, of the people who are accountable for their organization's culture. I'm consciously not saying that it is HR's role to do it, because I believe that if it becomes an HR, if it was only owned by HR, there could be chaos like any other policy. Then it becomes HR against rest of the organization. It will start getting looked at like that. HR will again start becoming a moral police, which we don't want. We are, the new age HR folks are trying to move away from HR becoming a moral police, right? So therefore, I'm consciously saying that it is not HR's decision, but it's the organization's decision. They have to look at various parameters and they have to decide what they will allow and how much they will allow, or whether they will allow or not. It's as good as saying, if I have to take this to an extreme, it's as good as saying, suppose there is a notification where you can allow arms and ammunition into any work premises. Are we all going to do that? We're going to take a step back, think, look at it, whether we really need to do, is it going to cause a problem or not? And then we are going to decide. I think the same mindset applies here. Now, coming to things like sexual harassment at the workplace, are we really in a situation where there is no sexual harassment at the workplace? And is this going to significantly increase it? I'm not sure what the answer is. Harassment still happens, whether it is sexual or not, harassment still happens at the workplace. Culture in any organization, you cannot say that it's super clean everywhere, that there is absolutely no harassment. May not be. I don't know. Maybe we need to find out. But will this increase harassment? I don't know. Definitely it does indicate that behavior might become a little uncontrollable, when a person is under the influence of an alcoholic drink. But I'm not sure if there is a role where it requires offering a drink to somebody with a limited quantity. If it is going to improve a bonding, improve a conversation, it's going to result in a business outcome, then why not? If it is going to be just uncontrolled partying at the workplace, then anything can happen. Even if alcohol is not being served, if it's uncontrolled partying at the workplace, where there is no business outcome attached to that party, if it's just a fun party where it's actually uncontrolled, then any kind of harassment can happen. So I wouldn't attribute a significant increase in sexual harassment to implementation of this. Well, at the same time, I am not advocating that it should be implemented. I'm only saying that if harassment can happen, it can happen if things are uncontrolled. So I want to take a pause with that statement, saying that uncontrolled probably is the key word. And the decision of how much to implement, whether to implement or not, is best left with each organization. It's only a permission that's given. It's not a mandate. So it's not something that is required for compliance.
So, Karol, if you try to summarize this, so what do you think that what are the pros and cons of this liquor policy maybe at the workplace?
I think I am also optimist. So it's an opportunity for the organization to think out of the box, become non-conventional, think whether they need to utilize this liquor policy in their organization or not. They have to decide whether providing beer or wines will help them to achieve their target, their purpose. Whether it is their belief, and hopefully it will not be just wild belief, it should be based on some scientific facts, whether they will be providing that opportunity to their employees. And if any organization comes forward in utilizing this opportunity, again, there is always scope to go back. You need not, whenever you are allowing people to have beer and wine, you need not continue with that policy. If it backfires, you can always withdraw. So I will hope that ultimately some of the organization will try to utilize this liquor policy. And I'm sure the policy must be result of some demand in formal or informal level from some organization. Otherwise, there is no reason for including that clause in that policy. So hopefully some of them will utilize it, and hopefully new vistas will open up. maybe other organization will, if it is the impact is positive, other organizations will follow. If the impact is negative, it will be a failed experiment. That is also okay. And it may be followed in other states also if it is successful. So let's see what happens. But any new thing, I am always supporter of new thing, new experimentation. It opens up new opportunities. Let's see. I am keeping my finger crossed. In fact, I am very excited to see what happens.
And Honey, how
And
would
new
you like
areas
to?
of jurisprudence also may open up.
And Honey, how would you like to conclude this?
Yeah, I mean, I'll keep saying this time and again that it is, whether this is good or bad, the best test of it is to see how many organizations are really implementing it and how. That will really give us the best test of whether this is good or bad, whether it will stay or not. So that all depends on how people take it and whether they really take it and to what extent. And obviously, there will be correlations, there will be statistics that will come out as to whether it is creating a positive impact or not. That's something. Apart from that, another thought that came to my mind, and I want to leave the audience with that thought is it possible that this might result in a little bit of controlled drinking? This is a very tangential thought that came to my mind. So it's as good or as bad as telling adolescent, teenagers that don't go out and drink in front of your parents, right? You're kind of telling them that, yeah, this is a safe place. Your parents are in front of you and drink so that and automatically adolescent teenagers could be more controlled in front of their parents. So is it possible that allowing a little bit of alcoholic drinks to be served in the office spaces, will it promote more controlled drinking? Would it actually somewhere have an indirect benefit on people's health and moral standards? That's the question that's a very positive thought I want to leave the audience with. And it's the only test of whether this will work or not is, let's see what happens, how many organizations really take it seriously, and how many licenses are granted, and do people really want it? That's a question only time can tell. We can only speculate on.
So let's be optimistic and hopeful. And thank you, Kalol and Harni, for joining the conversation and sharing wonderful thoughts. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.